2021, he has taken over as Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and IT. Sir is connected with ICANN as a member of GAG, that is Government Advisory Committee, and he is involved keenly in various activities of ICANN, including subsequent round of new GTLD, which the previous panel was also talking, DNS abuse mitigation, prevention, WHOIS and data protection, universal acceptance and multilingual internet standards proliferations and all. And he is taking keen interest in ensuring that the present litigations which are going on because of the trademark and the domain should get settled not only for the present cases but on permanent basis. I think it's a very, very long list, so I must only say one thing, that you and me are sitting here celebrating the Global UA Day because of the big government support, and the initiative of hosting this by the government is taken by Sir. So let us welcome him. We have already introduced Edmund and Nitin Wali to all of you. So you are well aware about this. So without taking much time between you and the panel, I hand over this to the chair.
Thank you, Anand. My friends on the dais and ladies and gentlemen. It's one of the most difficult tasks to moderate a session just before lunch and when you're already late. But I think it's slightly less challenging than the session immediately after lunch. I really want to thank all those who are present here and have taken very active part in the deliberations on the occasion of the Global UA Day, which is being celebrated by India, and it is being done very proudly. And we have a large gathering, and we have very significant and important guests who have joined us on this occasion. So I welcome one and all. We have been talking about Internet, UA, and its all importance since yesterday. So I think due to the paucity of time, I can really skip talking about how Internet has changed our lives and the world, and how UA is going to impact in the future. Let us go directly to the two presentation which we have, one from the Government of Rajasthan and one from the ICANN, on how things can actually be implemented. Really not a big thing, but how it makes a difference. So without going into too much of introductions and other formalities, I think I'll straight away invite Shri Nitin Walia to make a presentation on behalf of the Government of Rajasthan. Shri Nitin Walia.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So basically, I'm representing Rajasthan, for giving this presentation. And Tripti and Shelly, in Rajasthan, we normally say is Padharo Mere Des. Padharo Mare Des, actually. So welcome to the soil of Rajasthan now, after moving from Delhi. So just a small background. Rajasthan, the capital is Jaipur. It's Rajasthan means Adobe of the Rajas, actually. So the population is 83.6 million, and the major industry is tourism and agriculture. Internet penetration comes to 62% in men's and 36.9% to women's. And primary language spoken is always Hindi out there. So, Government of Rajasthan has took an initiative actually way back in 2017 when they first thought to provide an email address to every citizen into the local language. So it was the first kind of its project in India, wherein the Government of India, Rajasthan, provide them the email address both in Hindi and in English. And this was the first EI project which was being implemented in any state of India and was being done by Action Plus. The objective was to bridge the digital divide in getting millions of online. So just to introduce that, Rajasthan at that time came up with the IT and ITS policy to outline a new chapter into the e-governance space actually. The government goal was to create and incentivize a mechanism for bringing the residents online. Basically, the majority of the citizens who were using the email address, were either on Gmail, Hotmail, or Yahoo, like we all are, we still are, in fact, we talk about. But a lot of population was like, the first timers who never got introduced to the world of email actually. Because those people cannot read, write in English. So even if somebody creates a Gmail or Hotmail email ID for them, since they cannot read, write, it makes no sense for them actually. And government was giving a lot of subsidies, a lot of benefits, including the old age people, pensioners, and everyone. And communication was one of the key mechanisms for them. So when the introduction of IDNs comes in and thought of AI comes in place, the government of Rajasthan think of bringing all these people who are deprived from the internet world, specifically from the communication world, and bring them online through an email address of their local language, which was Hindi. So currently over 7 million. So Tripti and Shelly, I just want to give you one small bullet point. It does not matter how many IDNs got booked in India. What is important is that a single domain can bring so many million people online and bridge the digital divide. So when we talk about the language, in Rajasthan, 7 million people, email addresses were being created into their local language. And that too on a single domain, Rajasthan.Bharat. It's a bilingual email, so it supports all 22 national languages. So even if tomorrow government of Rajasthan want to expand and say, we will support all 22 languages of India, they do not need to change any software application. They are ready even today. They can host all 22 language domain names and offer every citizen who is even the migrant coming into the state a language of his choice. It is free for the citizens from the government, so there is no charge. Completely hosted into their own data center, locally in Rajasthan. The entire control, privacy, security remains in the control of government of Rajasthan. Even the citizen has to, just simply call the support desk, and if he needs any kind of a support, it is available to them 24/7. Rajasthan government also have created its own SSO, which is single sign-on actually. And this email application has been tightly integrated with that SSO. So once any person or a citizen who want to have any kind of a services from government of Rajasthan and who just come online, he first create his SSO ID. So when he creates his SSO ID, automatically he gets his email ID into Hindi, which is the native language. So it's been tightly integrated with all the applications of government of Rajasthan. So with a single sign-on, he can subscribe all our kind of services, be it tourism, be it purchase, be it export, be it applying a license into Rajasthan or any kind of a service. Or even if you want to reach to the CMO or complain to the government, they don't need to think about that now. The solution which has been provided to government of Rajasthan was completely made in India. So there is a zero dependency on any external party from outside India. Even the source code is being exposed to them for the privacy and security reasons. The government of Rajasthan is, leveraging this facility to the large extent. They are sending the newsletters, they are sending the alerts, they are sending the notifications to all the citizens, including the wishing them to, on their birthdays. So there is a direct connect with citizen and the government. Even during the COVID pandemic time, where majority of the states and the people across the globe were using the online mediums or the newsprint medium or the TV mediums to popularize the COVID issues, the checks and balances every citizen has to take. Government of Rajasthan was also utilizing this email platform and sending them the regular news and alerts, notifications, messages from the CM about how to safeguard from the COVID. So it also saves a lot of money in terms of, pushing it on the online and offline media with this platform. The platform is completely universal acceptance ready. It's EI ready. Mobile applications are being given which are completely EI ready. And it is connecting millions of people and providing them a unique identity, which is Rajasthan.Bharat. So you have Bharat, which is India, and you have Rajasthan, which is your state. So, I forget to change the status. It's not changing. Okay. So this is the front-end interface, from which every citizen log in into the application. It's completely web-based. Along with that, the government is also providing them the mobile applications, both in Android and iOS. This is also completely AI ready. So you can have your multiple languages email address into one mobile application. So there's a zero dependency on any third-party application. These are the few glimpses of the newsletters and how the government has popularized this email services into various magazines and media. That's it. Thank you so much.
For a very short and crisp presentation. I think it's a very, very laudable initiative by the government in partnership with NextGen. And it's quite a wonderful initiative from the UA point of view. It is really empowering the citizens of the state. The numbers are quite staggering. In fact, 7 million people are already connected, and I'm told it can be expanded to include 20 million people in all. And with all the 22 languages supported, both UA and EI ready completely. So first step in the direction of reaching out to the people and empowering those people who have been unconnected. So a big hand to Rajasthan government and the team who has implemented this. So from here, we go for an international presentation, and Edmund does not need any introduction. In fact, he has already been introduced to you during the last session. So without going into the formalities of any introduction, I'll request him to make his presentation.
Thank you. And I think I would like to say that the example from Rajasthan is really exciting. One of the things that I mentioned yesterday is also that there are different deployments, and one of my presentation today will talk a little bit about different deployments, also on email address internationalization. But I wanted to emphasize that there is no kind of one size fit all. There is no best practice at this time. Every one of these deployments contributes to the dialogue and the actual deployment of universal acceptance. So I will actually pick on a couple of case studies and also highlight some of the challenges that were overcome in some of those deployments. One in China, in Core Mail, one in Thailand for the THNIC deployment, and I'll also add a little bit from my own experience from .Asia and prior to my .Asia years as through the presentation. However, if there's one thing I really want to emphasize, and to have you remember in this particular presentation is this new term that I hope to popularize, which is UA by design. In order to develop work, really start to think about UA, universal acceptance by design. You must have heard of privacy by design, security by design. Well, it's time to start thinking about any new IT project that you're working on, any new website. Let's start with it being UA ready rather than try to patch it up later on. That's UA by design, and that's really the learning. But let me go back to a couple of the case studies. So Coremel is one particular deployment in China. They're based in Guangzhou, and their system, the original system, was developed in 1999, and they're now actually supporting almost 1 billion user accounts, email accounts in mainland China. When Coremel started to work on email address internationalization, it started to look into how to deploy EAI through its user base. What it also realized quickly is that it's probably not going to be a deployment, a regular update just for their existing customer base. And that's an interesting observation as well. And the reason being, again, I've touched on this before, the interdependencies between different systems. So what they, eventually what did happen, and in terms of the deployment, which is now supporting over 10 million accounts already, is that a separate system is being built to support EAI, to support multilingual, support internationalized email addresses. So and the key issue there is that there are other elements like the registering of signing up for email address. That process, that through that whole process, that needs to be updated and tested. And there are other customer relationship management pieces of system and software that need to also be updated. So what happened was that eventually the entire suite of offering needs to be updated. And in order for that entire suite to be updated, it was not the best approach to just update it for the existing customer base. So rather than doing that, a separate system was built, and users were moved onto it as the demand develops. So that's one of the learning, and it relates a lot to, I guess, my own experience back, 15, 20 years ago when we first started working on IDNs. One of the things is that the company, the startup that I created, provided modules for registries and registrars to be able to provide IDN registrations. But we quickly realized that that's not enough. So the startup that I created eventually developed an end-to-end solution for registries and registrars that starts with UA and starts with IDN in mind, because every single system of the registry and the registrar needs to be updated anyway. So one of the learning, again, as I said, UA by design, instead of patching things, that is possible. It's going to take time. It's also an approach to think about the next generation of your systems, the next generation of your platform, and start with UA by design rather than looking at how to patch up a ASCII-based email or domain name platform. Second case study that I want to highlight is from THNIC, and in Thailand, it's really interesting. Sometimes I earlier mentioned about the user demand of internationalized domain names. The Thai THNIC provided a really interesting video that I look at it every time. I've looked at it so many times, but I still find it really interesting. So I'm hoping to cue to play the video, but the video really answers one question, is that why do we need IDNs? Some people still ask, can't you just use English romanization or transliteration and just use the English alphabet to describe your language? Well, this video will show you why it can't be done. If that can be played.
คุณใครเป็นเจ้าของไข่ เจ้าของฟาร์มไข่ไก่ ฟาร์มไข่ไก่ของคุณใครกำลังจะ go ออนไลน์ คุณใครจึงไปจดโดเมนเนมในชื่อว่าไข่ขายไข่ไก่ .com ฟาร์มไข่ไก่ของคุณใครน่าจะไปได้ดี แต่ไข่.com ไข่ขายไก่ไก่ .com ไข่ขายไก่ไข่ .com ไก่ไข่ .com ไปกันใหญ่แล้ว ปัญหาเกิดจากการที่ชื่อเว็บไซต์หรือบริษัทเป็นภาษาไทย แล้วนำไปจดชื่อโดเมนแบบทับศัพท์เพื่อให้ทุกคนไม่สับสน และเข้าถึงเว็บไซต์คุณใครได้ เอางี้คุณใครเราคนไทยพิมพ์ภาษาไทยไปเลยค่ะไข่ขายไข่ไก่ .thai เก๋ไหมล่ะ เพียงแค่จดโดเมนเนมเป็น .in.th มาได้ .thai แถมไปด้วย หรือจด .thai เลยก็ได้ เราก็แถม .in.th ให้อยู่ดี ที่ th-link
So I hope this resonates with some of the audience here as well. But a little bit back to the THNIC experience. Of course, Thai language is very important. So since 2016, the THNIC actually, the registry for .th actually partnered with through Wave in Thailand to deploy email services. As I mentioned early on, when you register an IDN, first thing, of course, you need hosting and you need to develop email system services for that domain, for the domain to be actually useful. So what THNIC did is to deploy a system on .thai, as mentioned in the video, to support email addressing and mailbox systems that can be used via web client and other clients like Microsoft Outlook, Thunderbird, Mail, and so on. However, what is interesting to point out is that right now, as far as my notes are concerned, and also the UASG report, that is on what is called the Stage 1 EAI readiness. Right now, it only serves the Thai language, and that's one of the interesting things as well, because their particular focus was on Thai language, which is totally understandable. The system itself is very focused that way, and it supports Thai language. But whether it, right now it's still going through a process to ensure that all the other cases like the right to left languages and different languages are being accepted and in the system. So another interesting point is really that, and also I think I highlighted it yesterday as well, is that when we think about UA, the concept about UA by design is really to start off in a multilingual approach and not just have, I guess, English and one language. And here in India, I guess this is really interesting because inherently there is a multilingual environment that you have, and perhaps this is a great opportunity for India to develop these type of UA by design systems. So finally, I want to just highlight a little bit of the experience from .Asia in the last little while, working on UA readiness ourselves. One of the first things, of course, there is every company probably have some sort of customer relationship management system. We use HubSpot a lot, and one of the things is, that depends on, that immediately tells us that it depends on the particular vendor, whether they support IDN or not. An interesting finding there is that HubSpot actually currently is somewhat IDN aware, and also EAI aware. What is interesting is that that if through the system, if you send an email in with an EAI-ready system, it accepts it. So it has the SMTP UTF-8 supported, and it receives the email. When it receives the email, in your system, however, everything turns into a Punycode, the XN -- alphanumeric string. So usability-wise, it's kind of a little bit difficult. And then the interesting thing happens is that, well, it can receive, but it's not able to send. So when I want to respond to the particular customer, if it sends in through an EAI, it then fails to actually send back out the email. So one of the things that we also found is that there are different levels of readiness. Maybe some engineers realize, oh, there is IDNs, there are IDNs, there are EAI, let's deploy this. Okay, but that is only on the email server, obviously, and the display and the reply, because reply requires more than just the email system. It requires a whole lot of other linkages into the system. The reply doesn't quite work. So that's one of the things that we've learned as well. And recently, we've also been deploying SendMail. SendMail is, again, a very widely used open source email server. What we realized is that it wasn't readily deployable. Implementing in CentOS realized that it's not quite working. What our team then spent a lot of time figuring it out. In fact, it's the core system is there. However, the nuances about the different packages to make sure that it's installed on CentOS to actually make SendMail work for EAI is a whole set of different issues. So what the team was able to do is to get it working from a myriad of different libraries that weren't particularly documented. So one of the things that we are looking to contribute to is to contribute that particular documentation. So because even though a particular, even just the mail server itself is EAI ready, doesn't mean the deployment is a straightforward one. So I guess I will, wrap up my presentation here just by highlighting a couple of things. One is when working through the deployment, you have to understand that different vendors have different stages of awareness, not just necessarily aware or not aware, and done or not done. There are different stages as well. And so when you plan your roadmap, when you do the stock taking of systems, that is one thing that's very important. Another highlight, I guess, is one more language versus multiple languages. It's very important to think about systems that, as I said, UA by design really means systems being able to handle multiple different languages rather than just, adding one and patching one in. And in one of the things about UA by design is thinking about as you probably heard many times by now, the 5 things: the accept, the validate, the storing, the processing, and the display. Not everyone has everything done, but as you think about it, it's important to start with that. And in terms of how to start with that, one of the critical things that were learned by actually all the systems is to decide how you want to store and display things. There is the Unicode or UTF-8 format, which makes it easy for display, and because most displays processes are like that. And then there's the Punycode, which is the alphanumeric string that is used for the IDNs and the domain names. Which version do you want to store and display is something that needs to be thought through by design and then start with rather than being patched up. So I guess, as I started my presentation, I wanted to, one thing that you remember is UA by design. Hopefully you remember that. And as mentioned by other speakers today as well, there is really a $10 billion opportunity out there to fix systems. And here in India, I'm really excited to understand the different multilingual challenges. You are probably a very good opportunity to really go into the forefront, to be part of the action, of solving this issue, and also being able to help other people solve this issue, because these systems, again, if you have systems that are UA by design, perhaps this is a great alternative from jumping to your system as well. So, there is, while other people have identified and the UASG has done the study to indicate that there's at least about a 10 billion market to make this fix, I think having UA ready will ignite many billions more of opportunities for bringing the next billion online and getting them into e-commerce. And that's why UA is important, and that's why for any of the next system, please think to start with UA by design. Thank you.
For sharing very interesting examples with us, and the one from Thai, that example totally applies to Indian scenario also. I don't know how many of you are aware, but India is not only having 22 official languages, but around 18,000 plus dialects. Actually, in India, it is said that the dialect will change every 50 kilometers. So if you travel in any directions from one place to another place, the dialect would have changed. And not only that, in fact, the meaning of words also changes. The pronunciation changes completely. And there are such wonderful examples of different pronunciation of the same word leading to totally different interpretations in Indian scenario. So I think in this background and the kind of opportunity the UA presents, it's really an opportunity. And especially all those who are sitting here and those who are related to some kind of development related to UA and the systems development on that side, it's a very, very important takeaway in my opinion that instead of doing a patchy work, UA by design is the better solution. And doing it for 1 billion plus user email accounts, that is mind-boggling and staggering, really. And that's a wonderful example that you have shared with us. So before we close and we go for lunch, I think it's an opportunity for all those who are here to maybe share 1 or 2 comments, observations, or maybe questions, so we can take up. We have from this side. Finally, somebody else is asking questions.
I'm Sapna from NIC. Majorly this question goes to the session chair. Like we have heard a lot like let us make UA by design, and there is a great deal of market, there is a lot of opportunity. So today sitting in the audience, the first thing comes to our mind is like it is going to be a sarkari problem. People in the market will think कि ये सरकार का problem है, it is just related to policy. So sir, chairperson sir, I really want to get some insight on this, how being sitting at a place where you can really design the policies, how you are going to take it to the market, like so that the young generation, our IT professionals, they also get a touch that like we have a design thinking, we have UI, UX, now UA also becomes the part of our thinking. That's my question, sir.
Okay. I think the experts would have been able to answer this question better, but I will attempt an answer. See, as I understand, internet is a multi-stakeholder thing, and any effort by any single stakeholder is not going to solve the problem or is not going to end up in a UA-ready system. So everybody has to contribute. It cannot be just part of a government policy through which UA can be driven. No, it can't be, in my opinion, because everybody, the government, the industry, the academia, the users, the vendors, all those developers, they have to imbibe this in principle that it has to be UA by design. So, and Edmund has just mentioned, and what we have been doing actually, we are having bilingual websites. And we had the English domain names, and now we have converted those English domain names also into Hindi domain names. So it's a kind of a patch which we have done. So it's not UA by design. So, and that is why it is very, very important to understand that UA by design will handle the issues of all the official languages which we have in India, and world over also this will happen. So by one particular stakeholder, this problem is not going to be solved. Everybody has to work, and that is why we are holding this Global UA Day and trying to create awareness. And I think some of the examples which we have before us today, one has been presented. Rajasthan has come out with the email for all the citizens. So that I think is a wonderful initiative which has happened to provide emails which is EAI compliant and can provide all the languages if the citizens want to use on that side, and they can have a similar same email with a single sign-on. So that's a wonderful initiative. So anybody would like to add to what I'm saying, please.
Just to add, hello. Just to add to your question, actually, government is, although playing its role, not to our expectations, that could be, we can say, but yes, it is not key, it's not there. You have domain names which is being provided by government, actually. You have domain names in 22 languages. Not just the domain name, even Nixie is providing you an email address free with every domain name. So when you register a domain name through any registrar, Nixie is providing you an email address into that particular language. So if you register a domain name in Gujarati, you will have an email address in Gujarati. So that is an enablement which has been done by the government side, being Nixie as a part of that. So that is one thing. Secondly, government is already taking, more initiatives in terms of, there are universities who are coming in. So in terms of education, on the grassroots level, they are thinking of, and they have already put the policies in place, that the education in local language should be made available. So that's a great initiative which is happening. Yes, the point you have raised about the policy, that could be missing. That even though universities are allowed to operate into the local language, they should have been asked into the policy to have a domain name, which is IDN, to have the email addresses for all the citizens who are, all the students who are reading into those universities or schools must have an IDN email addresses. So that from the education level itself, they know what UA is and what IDN is. Thank you.
If I can add briefly, the last part made me want to add this, and to up it even further, not just giving them names, that's, I think it's great, but also one of the policies is even in the curriculum. When kids first learn about DNS, first learn about networking, they should know IDN is there as well. And when they first learn about email protocol, they should also learn about EAI and how it works. So that could be done a little bit by policy, and that would allow the next generation to take it for granted in some ways that IDNs and EAIs are there.
Maybe one more? Please, we have.
I am Rajen Prasad, Senior Director at NICHQ. I want to ask why the discrete emoji is not used as a domain name.
Emoji.
Why discrete emojis cannot be used as domain names?
Mr. Edmund.
I'm happy to answer that. Well, it's actually really interesting, why emojis cannot be used. In fact, I, rewind many years ago, that was exactly the question I asked. What then became apparent, and I touched on that a little bit yesterday as well, is that when we look at internationalized domain names, the different languages require different policies because it's different than the English alphanumeric names. And in English alphanumeric names, for example, the big letter A and the small letter A, they're mapped together. So a user, when they type in big letter A and small letter A, it goes to the same place. For internationalized domain names, for example, in Chinese, there are different ways of writing the same character, and that is mapped by policy. Now, how does that relate to emojis? Well, a smiley face or sad face or very sad face. How do you map that together? Becomes
That's
a
why I am
policy.
asking for discrete emojis.
Right. Becomes
Like
a
utensil name, animal name, fruit name. These
Right.
are the discrete. Banana means banana, apple means apple.
Understand. So basically, for the time being, what the technical community has looked at the particular issue is saying, and that is part of the report from the Security and Stability Advisory Committee to ICANN, is that currently there's no good way to map it as unique identifiers for the internet as a valid and a usable domain name. So the short answer to you is that I think you should continue to think about it and work on it. But for the time being, let's make all the languages be supported on the DNS first, and then that is a much longer technical discussion that needs to happen at IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force, and many other security and stability issues on unique identifiers. Hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
I am
I
already
think I'll
working
echo
on
what
that.
he says, because see, a few years back, nobody was talking about the UA and nobody was talking about all the languages. So we have progressed, we have gone step further. So there may be a day when actually discrete emojis may be used. So
Yeah.
not as of now, that's all.
Just to add to your question, actually, you can use your emojis into your email. So you can have your username actually in emoji, and then your ID and domain name or any domain name. So that
I
is
have
good.
already developed a SART URL service that is using SART discrete emoji as a SART URL.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, should we close?
Right, I think we had a wonderful session. Thank you very much to both the speakers for the presentation. Over to you.
I think very, very interesting session, because sessions which are practical, which has shown the result, how we have done it and what is the result out of this, is really touching your mind and your heart to take your thinking process also to the next level. Thank you very much, and I think the last question was really interesting, and since I am dealing with the domain, I'll start also thinking of emojis can be used at domain, and that is what Edmund has said, that now you and we also have to work and think about this. Thank you. We would, all of us would like to thank Chair, who has undertook such pain to deliver such a beautiful panel to us. So on behalf of all of you, I request Dr. Datta to please come and honor our chair, Mr. Bhuvnesh Kumar, with a green certificate. The green certificate, sir, is plantation which will
got
go.
one yesterday.
Yes.
I already got one yesterday.
Yes, sir, we will give you one more, sir. So thank you, Dr. Datta. Thank you, all panelists. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, all of you. Now we are breaking for lunch. For lunch, you have to go outside, and there is you have to go one step below where you will be. It is called Arakshan, right? It is basement. And we are assembling again here at 3 o'clock. Sharp 3 o'clock, I request you to assemble not here, in a hall which is called Ashoka, just in front of this. And we are going to have a very, very important session that is called Bhashni and Multilingual Internet. And it will be very, very engaging session. I request all of you to join. A message for those who have not registered themselves in the morning because of rush at the counter. I request all of you to register yourself and collect your delegate kit from the registration counter after lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you, and let us enjoy lunch. I request all the panelists to have a group photograph, please. And I request all speakers to please join us for the lunch in a VIP lounge. Sir, I will have